Hi, I am the social worker for Better Days Mental Health Clinic, and I am going to be using the biopsychosocial model on Marlo as I am to provide a level of care for this client. Um, I I believe in order to provide a level of care, you have to have a biopsychosocial model because that's what we use as substance abuse counselors in the substance abuse um, arena. And in order to have a biopsychosocial model, you would definitely need to practice some motivational interviewing while doing the biopsychosocial to get Marlo to answer the questions. And he right now he is um, refused treatment in the past, and so it's my job to try to motivational interview him into maybe seeing for himself, maybe pointing out the facts of his life, um, from his behaviors, how he grew up, um, allowing him to see that um, the life that he's living is a learned behavior, um, and kind of getting a better focus for him by talking about it. So allowing him to see that um, maybe some of the choices he's making today wasn't exactly what he had planned for himself or any morals or values that he has for his life. He does have a mom. Dad's in and out of his life, or hasn't been in his life. I'm sorry, has not been in his life. So, although I really think it depends on the perspective of who is looking at the different models, um, I want to say that I have to use the biopsychosocial to give him a level of care. But I think that he comes from a psychological model because his addiction is a secondary symptom. Because what's happening is when kids start acting out in school and um, he's selling drugs to support his habit because he doesn't have the money, but he's doing this because he's missing something. And some would say that it is a disease model, and anybody in AA or NA would look at it as a disease of the mind and of the thinking. But and not everybody who is abandoned by their father picks up drugs and starts using, but there are some, if they have the disease of addiction, um, do. So in this child's case, he already has the predisposition of having um, this learned behavior because when his dad was around, he was an alcoholic, and he saw his dad put um, something in his body to make himself feel better or stay drunk. So um, it's it could be the models. It could be a little bit of both. I look at as a social worker standpoint. My viewpoint is that it could be a little bit of all. Yes, it's a disease. Um, it's a disease because it does center in the mind. However, I also believe that it's a secondary symptom because he's putting something in his body so he doesn't have to feel anymore, and so he can get the produce the effects produced by whatever he's putting in his body, so he no longer has to feel whatever reality that he's in. And part of it's social cultural model because um, there are some condition, or it says right here, cultural, ethnic, religious, or environmental conditions are causal factors in addiction. So him, watching, having the single parent um, environment, watching his dad be an alcoholic, and now his dad has abandoned him. He's no longer there. He hasn't seen his dad. He's feeling abandoned. And then um, for others, society can view this kid in the moral model, because they think that he's choosing to get loaded and making these choices, that he has power and choice over what he's doing. But in all actuality, um, the disease model takes over, because um, when a person has the disease of alcoholism or addiction, they do not have the power and choice, because they don't have anything to battle it with, like combat it. So because there's coping skills and um, things to combat triggers to not pick up. And with this vignette, it talks about that Sarah has tried to get Marlo into treatment before, and he's refused. So it's really important for the social worker to try to refer this client to have a biopsychosocial done, and meet with somebody who's um, has a really good instinct for motivational interviewing, because we definitely want to try to meet him where he's at, roll with his resistance, um, and develop the discrepancy to get him to see that this is not what he wanted for his life. And does he have a basis for any values and morals for his own life? And is this what he wanted for himself? And maybe, and we also want to meet him where he's at. In other words, expressing empathy for him, and let him, and don't push him. We definitely don't want to push him. We're just asking him questions, and maybe asking him the right questions to get him to see that maybe he does have a problem. Get him to see that without actually telling me he has a problem, because we can't diagnose a client, whatever age they are, say that you have an addiction problem. They really have to be a self-diagnoser and and they have to realize it themselves that they have a problem. But it's our job as social workers to show him the evidence, of his life and the behaviors that he's actually in, and the actions that he's taking, and what that's doing to him. So motivational interviewing is definitely one of the ones where we want to, whatever he chooses to do with his life, whether he chooses to do the biopsychosocial and answer the questions, it's entirely up to him. And that's where we need to roll with the resistance, and we need to support him and meet him where he's at, so he can have some self efficacy about him. If he chooses not to get help at this moment, then we give him information. We give him the resources that we have, and give him some phone numbers and 800 numbers, whatever he needs for himself, and ask him open-ended questions and see where it goes. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions. So the model of addiction that was chosen, one more time. I'm going to go with psychological models, because once again, it's a learned behavior, and there is an underlying psychological disorder, abandonment, and that could be it, but we don't necessarily know. That, again, all depends on a person's perception. Thank you, and I hope I did a good job.